Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my first mid-year freakout tag. This is a tag that when I first started watching BookTube was always my favorite video that people posted. So I am so excited to be doing this for the first time. I will link down below the creators of this tag. This tag is a way for people to just kind of like gush about some of the best things that they've read this year so far. It's kind of like a mid-year check-in on your feelings on everything you've read. So some of the information might be a little bit repeated because I recently did a mid-year tier ranking video, but this has some other questions that were definitely not addressed in that tier ranking. The tier ranking was just obviously best to worst of the books I've read. This one will get into a little bit more detail of like specific things I loved and all of that. So very excited. Let's get into it. The first question is the best book you've read so far. And I'm normally very bad about like picking a favorite book of a certain time period just because I love so many books. But this year it was pretty easy, and it is Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which I have a full review of above. And this book, the whole series was 5 stars. Like the whole series was phenomenal. But the second book, we really got a whole lot of action. There was huge character arc developments. Everything just like hit the fan, and it was just masterfully written. They all were, but this one especially was just so fun to read, and I absolutely loved it. Robin Hobb continues to impress me. I don't think I would have ever picked up any of her books if I hadn't joined the book community, just because, one, they are kind of like, they give off super traditional fantasy vibes, like really old school, which sometimes I have a hard time enjoying. But this series is just, it is a masterclass in character arcs. Like the characters are so masterfully developed and executed, and the ending is so fulfilling and rewarding. Like she's just amazing, and I am like itching to continue the Realm of the Elderlings, but I'm trying to like read other books in between, obviously, and also I don't want to be finished right away. But I want to know what happens with every character. I want to know how the Live Ship Traders characters interact with the whole Fitz's World characters. Like I want to see those interactions. I'm like just so excited in general for this world to continue developing. Next is the best sequel you've read so far this year. For this one I have 2. First one is Harrow the Ninth. This is the second book in the Locked Tomb series. This book is a masterpiece. I think that I put this as my 3rd favorite book of 2020 in my tier ranking thing, so like also up there. This book is phenomenal, and you can see it. I started tabbing, and you might be wondering, why are the tabs only towards the end? This is when you finally start to figure out what's going on. So like you have no idea what's going on before that, which was fine. Like the writing was just so good that I didn't care, and it was like dropping enough breadcrumbs that I was just like eating it up, ready for learning of what's going on. So I started tabbing when things were being revealed, and also just like gut punch lines. There's a character that shows up towards the end that had these lines that were like ripping my heart to shreds. So I tabbed them because I have to go back and reread lines that rip my heart to shreds. The amount of times I reread like 3 pages at the end of Jade Legacy is quite embarrassing. So anything that hurts my heart, I want to reread and feel that emotion again. I don't know why. It's kind of masochistic, but I love it. So this book was a masterpiece. The writing and the plot progression is so masterfully done. The fact that Tamsyn Muir has created 2 books that are so hard to follow but are so fun to read is just so impressive, because the first 70% of this book is very confusing, and it's mostly all from Harrow's point of view, and Harrow also doesn't know what's going on. And so that's kind of why the reader is like still engaged, because you are trying to figure out with Harrow why her life has been turned upside down, why she's where she is, what happened in her past. It's all very confusing and in the best way. And then the payoff at the end was just wild. I mean, I don't tab books. I don't annotate books very often because I'm not a very critical reader. I'm normally not reading books to like be a critic. I know that I do book reviews, but I try not to pick apart books because it'll just ruin the enjoyment for me. And so I literally just tabbed this because I was like, these reveals were so well crafted that I have to go back and read them again and just feel that again. So this book, just this series in general, is incredible. I'm so excited for the third one to come out. Just go read this book. It's so good. The next best sequel I've read this year is The Hunger of the Gods. This one kind of took me by surprise in the best way because The Shadow of the Gods was not my favorite. I liked it, I just didn't get the hype that was surrounding it. So I went into this one a little hesitantly because I really, really wanted to love it. And I did. It was so good. One of the main problems I had with the first book was that I wasn't feeling a very strong attachment to any of the characters, which I think part of it was just I read it at the wrong time. Sometimes I'll just read a book at a time in my life that just doesn't let me click with it. And I think that might have been the reason I didn't love Shadow of the Gods. So maybe one day I'll go back and reread it and see if my rating changes. But this one I was really able to become invested in these characters. And the ending was so sad and so beautiful. And there's so many battle scenes that you would think it would get overwhelming or just too much. But they're all so well written that I didn't care. Like, I was actually wanting battle scenes. I was like, give me some more fights because they're so fun to read. And they're also easy to follow. I feel like a lot of times when I read battle scenes, I'm just like, okay, hit, 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 death, death, death. Like, I don't really visualize how the fight is going, but John Gwynne makes it easy to do that. He makes it easy to visualize what's going on, who's hitting who, who's dying, things like that. So I loved this book. It was so good. It's also like a beautiful book. It's got a perfect floppy paperback. It's amazing. So read this series. The next question is a new release you haven't read yet but you want to. I have two for this one. The first one is I Kissed Cheryl Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. Casey McQuiston wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue as well as One Last Stop. She writes romance, and those two are adult, but this one is a YA romance. So I'm a little hesitant to go into it because I don't typically love YA, but I'm so excited to read it because I think Casey McQuiston writes some really beautiful characters. So I'm excited to read this. I have it on hold as an audiobook from my library, so hoping to get to this soon. Next up, I have Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert. This is the third book in the Neon Gods series. I don't remember what the series title is, but I loved Neon Gods. I thought it was so fun, so steamy, and then I hated the second one, Electric Idol. I thought it was bad. So I'm going into Wicked Beauty a little hesitantly, but I think from what I've heard about it, I think it's going to be good. I hope. So I have this audiobook also on hold. Very excited to get to it, but like hesitantly excited because I just want it to be as good as Neon Gods was and not as bad as Electric Idol was. So that's my hope. Next up is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And I've talked about a few. I think I'll try to just name like two or three. First up, I have Fury Song by Rosaria Munda. This is the third book in the Fireborn series. I talk about the Fireborn series all the time. They're incredible. I'm so excited to continue it. They are YA fantasy, but surprisingly the YA aspect of it doesn't really bother me because they are so well crafted. It's a very political fantasy. There's dragon riders. Like, it is a very, very good series. So I'm so pumped for this third book. Another book I'm very excited for is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. This is the second book in the Atlas series, the first one being the Atlas 6. I've also talked about this series a lot. So excited for the second book. I have no idea where it's going after the cliffhanger at the end of the first book. It could go in so many different directions, and I think it's gonna just go off the rails. I'm so excited, and I really hope it lives up to how good the first one was. I have high hopes. The last one I'll talk about is Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Won't get too far into it since I just gushed about Harrow the Ninth, but this is the third book in the series. Comes out in like September, I believe, and just the way Harrow the Ninth ended, I just need more. I just need more. I need more of the story. I need more of these characters. I'm so excited for this book. The next question is the biggest disappointment so far of the year. And I think for this one, I'm going to have to say The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. This is the third book in the Wheel of Time series. I think I was so disappointed in this book because I want to like this book so bad. Or this series. I want to like this series so bad. They're very well known. They are books that all fantasy lovers out there have read. Not really, but like everyone wants you to think that. Like this is like what everyone thinks of as one of the best fantasy series of all time. And I just think that they're so far weird and kind of boring. Like, I've heard that later there's an even bigger slump, and I'm like, I'm already not super enjoying them, so like, why would I read a slump? So like, somebody tell me down below, comment down below and tell me if I can just skip to the end and read the Brandon Sanderson ones. Like, can I just skip the Robert Jordan ones and read those? Because I would love that. If Nynaeve never has to tug on her braid again, I would be so happy. Her scalp must be aching. Anyway, this book was a huge disappointment. I didn't like it. I've read the fourth one since, and I liked it better. But it's still not great. But I did like the fourth one better. But this one was just so boring. It was all travel. They were all traveling to the same place, but they didn't know they were traveling to the same place. And it didn't get interesting until the very end when they all met at this place. And I was just like, why did we waste our time with all this travel? Nothing really happened. I won't rant about it here. I didn't love this book. The next question is the biggest surprise of 2022 so far. And for me, that's The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. I got this book as an ARC from NetGalley and didn't have high expectations for it. I just know I like a lot of the books that Orbit publishes, so I requested it, but I didn't have high hopes. I just had preconceived notions based on the cover, I think, because I don't even think I knew what it was going into it. I just think based off the cover, I was like, this is going to be a boring book about this boring guy. And that's all I really knew. But this book was so good. Like, one of my new favorites almost. Like, it's up there with some of my best books of the year. It follows this, like, justice that has to travel around and, like, hold court in all these towns, right? So this justice has basically, like, a bodyguard and then an assistant, I guess. I guess she's kind of an assistant. And they travel around and deliver justice in all these little towns. And then there's kind of like this uprising that they experience, and they're told that things are not going well in the capital, which is very far from them. But the justice says that they have to stay here, and they have to finish what they're doing before they go back. And it just pops off from there. It was very good. The characters are really fun. The setting was really fun. I just think that the story itself was very interesting, and it sets up for what could be a very, very good sequel, because we've only explored this small section of the world, and all of the ominous, like, foreboding warnings that they've been given about, like, what is happening in the capital, I think is what we're going to explore in the next book. So we're going to really expand the world, expand the characters, and expand our knowledge of, like, the politics. So I'm very excited. I think this book was really, really good. Next up is a new favorite author, either to you or a debut author, and I'm going to say Olivia Blake. I've still only read Atlas 6. I know she has other books that I need to read, but she's definitely up there with one of my new favorite authors. I loved this book so much. So I won't get too far into it because I've talked about it a lot, but I loved Atlas 6, so excited for Atlas Paradox, and so Olivia Blake is definitely one of my new favorite authors. Next question is your newest fictional crush. Really, you could say almost anyone in the Atlas 6. Probably 4 out of the 6 main characters could be counted as a fictional crush. And then I will also say Gideon Nav, like, duh. I have basically a whole D&D character that is semi-based on Gideon Nav, so, like, I'm obsessed with her, would do anything for her. So those are my fictional crushes, basically. Next up is newest favorite character. I have 4, but we will say, but 2 are from one series and 2 are from another. So from the Live Ship Traders trilogy, Althea and Malta are 2 of my favorite characters. I really loved almost all of the characters in the Live Ship Traders trilogy. I just had to choose, I did narrow it down a little bit. But the characters are really what is so good about that trilogy. So they're all amazing. Like, all the characters are so well crafted. But Althea and Malta, I feel like their character arcs from beginning to end, they grow so much, and very unexpected turns that they take. And I just think that it is a beautiful, beautiful story that they both have. And I love them so much. And then, shock, Gideon and Harrow. I just think that, again, their character arcs are also really well developed and just so interesting. I just love them so much. I want them to succeed. I want them to be happy. And I know in this setting we have, that may not be possible, but I want them to try. Next up is a book that made you cry. I have 2 for this one. I mean, more books have made me cry, but I've listed 2 here. And the first one is The Hunger of the Gods, which I've already talked about. The ending was very sad, very touching, but very sad. And then I will also say The Age of Legends, which is the 4th book in the Legends of the First Empire series. They both just, like, had some character arcs that made me really sad. But, like, in a good way. In a good way. I like books that make me cry. Like, if I'm feeling enough emotions that I do cry, you've gripped me. You've got me in your hooks. Like, I love the book. So they were just very sad. Next up is a book that made you happy. I'm going to say Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki. I talk about this book a lot on this channel, mostly because I want more people to read it. It is a sci-fi book, but very light sci-fi, and it's about this woman, this violinist, who makes a deal with the devil. In order to gain the notoriety she wants, she has to, like, convince 7 pupils that she's teaching violin to also make deals with the devil. And she's on her 7th student, and she chooses a woman who is young and not very polished compared to, like, the rest of the students she's taught. She's lived a very tough life. She's a trans woman who has faced a lot of just, like, hate and unnecessary struggles just because of who she is. And it's just a really beautiful story. The sci-fi elements come in because there's, like, an alien family that owns a donut shop that they befriend. So it's a really cute story. I definitely recommend it. It's beautiful. It made me smile, gave me some happy tears, some sad tears too, but I think the ending was just so beautiful. I just felt so happy at the end. So next up, I have the most beautiful book you've received this year, whether it be you bought it or you were gifted it, and I have 2. I have The Hunger of the Gods and Kaikei. These books are stunning. I mean, they're just so beautiful. The Hunger of the Gods is the second one. Hold on. And these are both so beautiful. If you open up, it's got like a full spread, basically. And there's this big wolf, right? And then this one has the big dragon, which are characters in the book, which is even better. It's not just like random fictional creatures. These are characters in the book. So just together, these are beautiful. Beautiful, right? And then Kaikei, it's got like this gilding on it, like these little sparkly bits, and the profile's beautiful, the jewelry's beautiful, just the color, it's bright on my shelf, the binding is beautiful. Like, I just really love this book. It's beautiful. It was also a really good book. So yeah, these are the 2 prettiest books I've read this year and gotten. I bought these both this year. They both came out this year, so beautiful. The next question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? This one, there's a lot. I have a lot of books I want to read by the end of the year, but I put some that were, like, top of my list. I need to finish Legends of the First Empire. I've read the first 4 out of 6. The second 2 are just not available as audiobooks with any of my libraries, so I need to read physical copies. So gonna do that soon, I hope. And then I also have None of the Ninth and Fury Song, which I've already talked about. So those are my top priorities for the year. Like, I will not end this year without having read those. But there are a bunch of other books I hope to get to this year. The next question is your favorite book to movie adaptation. And I was thinking about it, and I don't think I've watched any movies or TV shows that are adaptations except Bridgerton, which I've only watched season 1 of, and I liked it, but I haven't read the books, so I feel like that's cheating. Maybe? I don't know. So I don't think I've watched or read any. I don't watch a lot of movies or TV. I am very behind on movies and TV in general. Everyone always tells me to read or to watch shows or these movies, and I just don't have time. I like to read more. I don't have the patience. When I watch a show, like everyone else like binges shows in a couple days, it took me a few weeks to watch Bridgerton season 1, and now I've waited more weeks to start season 2. Like, I'm just so slow. I do want to read and watch Heartstopper, so that might make it on there. I'm pumped for Shadow and Bone season 2. I don't know when that'll be out. I don't know if it'll be this year. I doubt it. I'm pumped for Witcher season 3, but also doubt it'll be out this year. That'll probably be next year. So there's definitely some things that I'm excited for. I just don't think I've watched anything this year that has been an adaptation. Yeah, I just don't watch a lot of movies. Anyway, that's the end of this list. I hope you enjoyed it. It was fun to film, so hope you liked watching it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know some of your favorite books this year, things like that. Some of your favorite fictional crushes. Love to talk about fictional crushes. Thank you guys so much. If you really like my content, hit the notification bell to be notified every time I post a new video. As always, your support means the world to me. And until next time, thanks guys.